Happy Friday, everyone, and here we are, Invisible Walls, to usher you into yet another awesome weekend. It is episode 171. It's been a little slow in the industry the last couple of weeks, but we have an awesome show for you today, and we're going to cut the crap and get right to it. But first, I want to let you guys know that we do have a gang, a grip, a plethora of Resistance 3 beta codes. PS3 only, of course. You're going to have to follow Invisible Walls on Twitter to get these codes. That's the only way you can get them. Ryan, I believe, will be handing those out over the weekend.
I will be asking you the finest trivia questions in the land.
So keep your smartphone in your pocket. Keep Twitter open if you want 3 free Resistance 3 beta codes.
Phonetics.
Exactly. Here on the show today, we have Marcus Beer.
Fuck Mac.
Word. Patrick Morales.
Hey there, guys.
And Ryan Stevens.
Yo, yo.
And your humble host, me.
We're almost set for football at Doak Campbell Stadium.
All right, first off, one of the big stories from this week was the EA Season Pass. So essentially, you're spending about $25. You're getting discounts on DLC.
For sports games, for select sports games, because they haven't indicated that the full roster of their sports titles are going to be taken into account. But I suppose if you want to buy a bunch of clubs for Tiger Woods or a stripper or something, apparently
can you get Freddy Krueger and NCAA?
Apparently NCAA is not in there.
NCAA football is not a part of it. The other part of the program is that you can essentially play their games 3 days before everybody else.
Yeah, you get it downloaded 6 days before the game goes on sale, and then 3 days before the game goes on sale, it gets activated, and then the day it goes on sale, the digital version that's clogging up your hard drive gets deactivated, but you can at least transfer your stuff over to the retail box.
Now, one thing I would say is with sports games, that's probably the genre it would work best with, because people are so anxious to get into the game and start learning the nuances, finding the money plays in Madden, so that when everyone else jumps on 3 days later, you're ready to go.
Use your exploits to
win. Use your exploits to take advantage of the competition, at least for a couple days.
And you do get exclusive access to materials via the interwebs on your computer, whatever that means.
Can I just say, for the record, on the record, I hate the future.
I don't think this is the future. This is just another cash grab, and it's $24.99 on top of what you're paying for Xbox Live, and PSN. If you're a PSN Plus subscriber, it's on top of that monthly charge as well. And EA have said that it's actually going to be a hardship for a lot of people to pay for this. I can see the Madden people going bananas for it.
What frickin' DLC do people want in sports games, man? It's you can cheat. Essentially, what it is, how that's what it is, though.
Yeah.
What have they provided in the past?
Well, for instance, say you want to get a wide receiver who has a 95+ rating to add to your team. You can pay for that. If you want a midfielder in FIFA, if you want a centerman in NHL, you can pay for that stuff. So now they're saying the stuff that you don't really want anyway, you can get it cheaper. If you pay the $25, it's not even free.
Yeah, but you have to buy about, I think, $130, $140 worth of DLC to get your money back.
Who pays that much in DLC for sports games?
I think people will, but I think on top of with what Activision's doing with Call of Duty XP, I mean, you're now looking at, for Xbox, say $100 a year for live components.
You mean Call of Duty Elite?
It's Call of Duty Elite, yeah. But you're looking at almost $100 a year just for Xbox Live and the sports games and Call of Duty.
What's next? They're gonna start charging for the roster updates? Is this a harbinger to that, or
quite possibly? I mean, what's going to happen with Ubisoft are going to get into this, so have to buy new weapons for Rainbow Six or new hoodies for Altair in Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
this is the way forward. That the companies are looking to monetize on top of other systems. So the only way to stop it is not pay for it.
Yeah, really lame. And then some other news coming out of the EA camp over the last couple of days. EA has apparently bailed on 3D gaming. They're saying that it's not lucrative for the money they're putting into it. It's not worth it. The 3D TV penetration isn't there. I read some reports online before we came in here to record. I guess most estimates are saying that worldwide by 2015, less than 10% of people who own HD TVs will have 3D TVs. Apparently that number is a little higher in America. But I think 3D TVs in general just aren't selling as well as they'd hoped.
Well, if we listen very carefully, can we hear anybody giving a shit about 3D gaming right now?
Yeah, Sony.
Yeah, you can buy that 24-inch little guy.
Yeah, I mean, Ubisoft, I think, is still working on some 3D stuff.
I'm sure Tintin will have that support just like Avatar did.
Yeah, but, I mean, it sounds like EA is just falling into line with everybody else who's saying it's not worth it. And, the sales of the 3DS, not so great.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
Kind of makes you wonder how well this Sony-branded 3D TV will do as well when it finally comes out.
Well, the other part of it, too, is when I tried it out at E3, it was cool. It's one of the things you see and you're like, oh, wow, I can see 2 images on the same TV.
Right.
But you can also see a ghost of that other image on the TV at the same time.
So the tech's not perfect.
No, it's not perfect. It's kind of cool and whiz-bang when you first see it, but eventually you realize that would I really want to play games seeing a ghost of the other image on the TV? Probably not. Mm-hmm. So 3D TVs...
Yeah, I don't think anybody here really gives a toss. I mean, Resistance probably be fun. Uncharted, we know looks great in 3D, but they're going to be the exception rather than the rule.
You want comfortable, and you want surprise.
And then that kind of rolls us right into the next discussion, which is the 3DS price drop.
Yep.
Yeah, I wrote an editorial about the 3DS about a month ago, talking about how I felt like I was ripped off for buying it. And didn't really have any games to play with it. It's been sitting in its cradle for probably about a month and a half, 2 months now.
Zelda came out, and I played for a little bit.
Played it for a few hours.
Star Fox is coming, and Mario's coming, but I think Nintendo...
A long ways from now.
Well, yeah,
you're going to see Mario and Mario Kart. We're talking December and November.
Yeah. Nintendo, perhaps, they mistimed this. Maybe they should have been looking to release the console, say, in September in the build-up to the holidays when they had Zelda ready to go at launch and they had a stronger lineup because, there's still not that much to really, kick it out there.
Well, this isn't even a little price drop. This is $80 out of $250. I mean, that's like a third of the system's cost in one price cut. Nintendo has never cut the price of a system this early. Never. It's only been, 6 months?
Not even.
And Mike Damiani's here to discuss this, by the way.
Yeah, this is like unprecedented for how quickly they've done it. I mean, there have been price drops of $50 like a year after a console comes out. But
which one was that?
There was a...
no, I'm talking about Nintendo.
And Nintendo 64 had that price drop. You remember it was supposed to come out at
well, that was kind of right at launch.
Right at launch, and it was ahead of time. But then
I paid $250 for my N64. I believe
it went down to $199.99 the following fall. Usually Nintendo a year into their hardware life. I think DS had a slight price drop a year into it, but less than a year. And then
even
less than half a year
didn't have a price cut this quick.
Yeah, and then this much money for it. I mean, this is the first time they're admitting that they're taking a loss on one of their hardwares, which they used to be the ultimate defense shield of Nintendo is we might not be in first place, but we make money on all our products. We will always be around. Not this time. This time is the first time their shield has been penetrated like that.
The price drop actually does guarantee that they from now on they will lose money on every 3DS sold. So unless they have a phenomenal, and it's not just Nintendo. Nintendo have to step up and deliver these great games, but they now have to welcome third party for quality games with open arms. Something they've been just letting any old shit go out on the Wii. Now they need to stand up. The Nintendo seal of quality needs to come back, and it's like, if you develop for it and we'll back you and we'll push it, because I can see it selling at this price point for Christmas. This could sell gangbusters, and it's
going to sell like mad at Christmas. Yeah, but the problem is that they have almost half a year until Christmas comes. I mean,
yeah, and you guys said the next game is Star Fox. That's still not till September. That's over a month from now.
And again, it's a game that we've already played. It's a remake of an old game.
We're saying, Christmas is 5 months from now. People will start putting money, starting their Christmas gifts, especially in this economy. People start buying in September. I mean, Christmas officially starts, the shopping build-up and everything starts in September. So people will start getting Nintendos, putting stuff away, getting gift cards for Best Buy or whatever. So they will do gangbusters, I think, this holiday season. But it will be interesting to see if they still, wait until December to release that last Mario game, and if they perhaps pull them forward a couple of months, because we know they're done.
Well, here's the thing, right? We haven't talked yet about the program that they've offered to those of us who've already bought a 3DS. Essentially, they're giving us, 20 free games?
You get 10 free NES games, 10 free Game Boy Advance games, and those are just they're calling them beta versions because the virtual console for NES and Game Boy Advance aren't rolling out till sometime in the future. So these are like early access versions that won't have all the features available. Like there won't be multiplayer in some of them.
Didn't they say some of them will never be released to everybody else?
They did say that some of the games will never
no one
come
else
out.
would be able to get.
Yeah, but will those be finished when they come out? I mean, they're giving you 20 free games, but like they're NES games,
Who
they're
cares?
GBA.
They're games I've bought twice already.
Yeah, and they have no 3D special effects, anything like that. They're very bare bones, and it's like, well, why don't you give me some like free game? Give me like Mario Kart for free or something.
Right, that's what
Well,
they
they're
Mario Kart.
Yeah, they're relying on Mario Kart. I wouldn't be surprised to see Mario Kart bundled. As soon as it's available.
Yeah, but they've got to do better than that, man. A bunch of games that they've been laying around their vaults for the last 20 years. Here you go for free. Who cares, dude? Like,
it's software. I mean, sure there'll be like lots of stuff written about how badly Nintendo botched like the 3DS's like launch months, but I mean, this is like just unprecedented how much they just misread everything.
Well, what shocked me is that they know better than anyone that it's all about the games. I mean, that it's always all about the software. It's not about the hardware.
how long has it been with Nintendo that credo of all about the games has gone out the window? 4 years on the Wii. I mean, 1, 2, maybe 3 great games a year on the Wii. That's just
But you're missing the point. The point is there was software for the Wii that moved the Wii. Even if you didn't like it, there were people out there that did. There were people out there that loved Wii Sports, and there were people out there that loved Wii Fit. We didn't care about it, but there were millions of people that did.
But they
have completely missed that this time. There's nothing for anyone.
They don't have any. You're right. They don't have anything for anyone.
For anyone.
But they've been lacking on the software front for the hardcore gamer who is going to champion this console, just like the Wii first came out, and it was the hardcore gamer who was first in line to buy it, and then everybody's mum and grandma started buying it after that. That's what they needed with the 3DS. They needed you get your hardcore audience in, they are the tastemakers, the word of mouth spreads. If there's dissension in the ranks there, you're dead in the water.
How soon till we see a 3DS revision now, given that
holiday season.
Next holiday?
Probably.
Yeah.
At the same time,
I think it's coming out sooner rather than later.
Oh, yeah. They're bumping it up, definitely. They're trying to find a way to produce it more cheaply. But it's all about the games. They have games for that system. People are going to buy it. There's just no games worth buying that system for right now.
Yeah.
And then you go back to what we were talking about before with people don't really care about 3D. In fact, you're kind of seeing this little groundswell of rebellion against 3D movies. A lot of people are like, I want to see it in 2D. I don't want to see it in 3D. So
no, we're the same. And ironically enough, the Sun newspaper in the UK, which had obviously this huge campaign against the 3DS causing headaches and everything.
Hemorrhages.
Yeah, that bastion of great journalism, courtesy of News International, have championed the price drop as something they got Nintendo to do because of the headaches. Yeah. So again, screw you, Murdoch.
In fact, the library of games coming for Nintendo 3DS is unprecedented.
All right, so next we're going to talk about Diablo 3. I think we've talked about it on the show a couple times, or maybe at least once.
Times.
Yeah. But Patrick just got an updated look at the game. How's it coming along?
It's coming along well. It's always tough to tell when exactly a Blizzard game is, ready.
Nearing completion?
Exactly, because they're very careful about what they show off. From what I've seen, the game is solid. It plays well. It looks great. I'd say, I'd be ready to play it tomorrow if it was going to come out. But I guess the most controversial thing that came out of the Diablo Summit was that they were now going to offer real money transactions on their auction houses, which is a new kind of market that, Blizzard is going into. I don't think it's ever been done before, and it's quite an interesting thing.
So essentially, you can put your items up, your loot, so to speak, and people spend real US dollars on the loot that you put up in the auction house.
That's exactly right. So the gist of it is that they'll actually have 2 auction houses. So they'll have one auction house in the game where you could bid and sell on things with normal gold that you acquire within the game. So
game currency.
Yeah, so you don't have to do the real money thing at all. But on the side, they also have an auction house set up where you go into it with real money. I'll bid $5 on this sword, and if I have the high bid, then I win it. And the cool thing about that is you can either get the money in 2 ways. You can either have those funds funneled into your Battle.net account, which will let you buy things for other games that Blizzard makes, like, subscriptions to WoW, pets, whatever, games even. Or you can cash out through a third-party service. They haven't named yet, maybe PayPal, who knows. And you can actually get that money to spend on anything you want.
Now, what kind of a cut is Blizzard taking on all these transactions?
So that's the big question mark that's on everyone's heads right now. We don't know yet in numbers, but they have said that it's going to be a static fee. So they're not going to apply a percentage onto it, depending on how much it sells. It's going to be a nominal fee when you list it and a small fee when you cash out, if you cash out. But if you have it just funnel straight to your Battle.net account, that's it.
You know what's interesting is the reaction or lack of outrage or reaction that hasn't really materialized. I would have thought that when this was first announced, everybody up in arms. Oh my God, this is the Activision.
Well, I think a lot of people look at it like they can play games and make money doing it.
I'm kind of surprised that I actually wasn't too up in arms about either. I'm like, oh,
well, it's a good idea. I think.
Yeah, I like my first reaction when I heard this was like, holy crap. Yeah, but then I thought to myself, wait, am I really upset over this or am I just shocked? Because if you think about it, like, why would you be mad about this exactly?
There's no reason to be mad.
If you think about it, all Blizzard is doing is that they're legitimizing a part of the game that has always been, taking place in, gray or black market.
Exactly. eBay.
Yeah, so I mean,
Chinese prison camps.
Yeah.
If you think back to the 90s when they had Diablo and Diablo 2, people would set up these shady sites where they would, sell their items and may or may not get scammed out of it. Even think back to now with World of Warcraft. We have Chinese gold farmers hacking into people's accounts, running robots on the servers, just farming money, and selling them to players at outrageous prices. So what Blizzard is doing now is that we're looking at it like I think of it as the way MP3s came about. People were resilient against it, but Blizzard, they're embracing this kind of trend. They're saying, okay, we can either let players do all this illicit stuff on the side, or we can legitimize it. We can protect players. We can even make them profit off of it a little if they want to.
Or a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's exciting to me. And I think the fact that Blizzard is giving players the option of just staying in-game with gold is the right thing to do. And, if they want to delve into this market, then, that's available to them. And I think it's cool, and I think it's
Imagine how excited you'll be if you get some ultra rare.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, it's like I hit the jackpot.
And the thing that's cool about Diablo is that it's not like WoW where you have to force your way into these, high-end raids where you have to commit time. An awesome item might just drop from like a frog on the ground, and you can sell that for like $20. How cool is that?
It's really cool.
I think what we'll see now is Diablo 3 is going to be the test for it, but how soon do they roll this out into WoW? And that will just, hopefully kill off the gold farmers for good. And then, they'll roll it out into StarCraft as well.
Or does it legitimize the gold farmer? Are they going to let you sell sort of exchange in-game currency for real money? Or is it just items?
Yes, you can. You can sell fake gold for real money, if that makes sense. But the thing is, they are separating the auction houses by region.
Okay.
So if you think about it, all that stuff that's farmed in China will not even come into the U.S. market.
They've got the tech in place to make sure that there is no way around it with proxy servers or anything like that, because they wouldn't put. I don't think they'd have announced this if they weren't 100% certain.
Blizzard doesn't really half-ass anything.
No.
Think about it.
Yeah, but just looping off of what Marcus just said, one kind of byproduct of Blizzard trying to, present a hack-free environment is that they are instituting a kind of soft DRM to the whole deal. You have to be online to play Diablo 3, much as that you have to be with StarCraft 2. I know some people are going to raise arms over this.
That is kind of shitty.
Yeah, it is shitty.
No. I mean, with StarCraft 2, though, you could still play offline. Correct. You could still play. You didn't have to be connected, but it just wouldn't count towards anything, right?
Yes, that's right.
So, but you don't even have that option this time. That's where I have a problem with that. Is it doesn't. You can't even have a separate.
Command and Conquer 4.
Yeah. Command and Conquer 4. Ryan Stevens mentioned that. But you can't. They don't even give you the option for separate accounts. Like, okay, if you have to play online the legit way, here's one account. Here's my bullshit account where I can play offline and have fun. They're not even giving that. I know people say, well, this is you're playing this on your PC, laptop, whatever. You're gotta be online anyway. Well, what happens when there's scheduled maintenance and shit, and you can't play the game? Period. Like, yeah, servers go down, but like. The server won't even be down, and you're having maintenance. You can't play the game offline. Like that kind of screws people over.
You know what? Some people just play games because they enjoy them. Not because they want to build their rank, or not because they want to play with somebody else. They just enjoy playing games. It's a good way to pass the time. You're on the plane. You're in a long car ride. You can't play that game in these instances, and a lot of those instances where you're trying to kill time.
Right. Personally, I'm kind of against it because the only people, that DRM hurts are the people that really want to play the game. Pirates will find a million ways
They're
to
still
going to
figure out a way to do it. Yeah.
I think look, they're very good at responding to people.
Yeah.
Blizzard are, because they had this whole debacle with the real names on the forums, and then they pulled that one. I think they will probably go to a stage where it's like, we're going to offer you, an offline version where nothing gets tracked, and then as soon as you log back in, it will check it will check everything for any glitches or bots or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think we'll see that come, whether it be at launch, or if there's a major backlash, early next year.
Yeah.
They're too smart not to do it.
Blizzard always listens to their fans, and I wouldn't be surprised if they took the same approach with Real ID with this. So who knows if something will change.
Now, the game itself, any big changes from the last time you saw it to now?
You know what? Nothing too surprising to report. I've gone to about 2 or 3 BlizzCons so far. The game is shaping up to be great. They've announced all the classes that they're going to have so far. They're definitely working on just building more content, make sure it's polished. The beta is about to happen, I hear, and hopefully, we'll be able to give a more detailed update on that when it comes.
Next up, Evo.
Oh, yeah.
I saw some videos to interwebs from Evo. I was pretty shocked, man. Those kids were into it. That room was packed.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's something you should definitely try and do once and to see it in person.
On my bucket list, go to Evo.
Yeah. They do a great job with the streams and stuff to capture part of that, but just being in there with that crowd and stuff when hype shit happens.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Well, you can just tell. It's like you can just tell everybody was into it. It's great to see people with that much passion for games all together in the same room, all vibing on the same thing.
Just to recap for everyone out there who may not know, Evo is basically a short for Evolution Championship Series, and it's a yearly fighting game tournament, which is basically the Olympics of fighting games, where everyone goes to Las Vegas from around the world to compete in these various games, and there's a huge tournament for each one, and it culminates in a weekend of fun and awesome times.
Watching those videos, what it proved to me is that fighting games are probably the only genre that works in competitive gaming. You can sit and watch people play Halo or whatever shooter, and it's so boring.
Yeah.
Now he's picking up the bubble shield and he's running on down the...
I completely agree with you there, and I think the reason for that is fighting games...
You get it. It's one guy against one guy. One guy wins, the other guy loses. So
With fighting games, the human element comes out. You know that one person is controlling this guy, and another person is feeling, the apprehension, the nerves.
Yeah.
They're feeling the moment, so it really comes through in gameplay, and it's just a ton of fun to watch.
And who was the guy that won this year?
For which?
So there were a couple of games. For Mortal Kombat, it was this guy named Perfect Legend. For Super Street Fighter 4, it was a Japanese player named Fudo. Not Daigo, who was surprisingly knocked down a few places, and who everyone expected to win.
Daigo had never lost at Evo, right?
Oh, he's won the last two.
He was basically unbeatable for the past few years.
He's won the past two and was poised to win this one. He was heavily favored, and he kind of got put on blast by
he got his ass handed to him, man.
Pugo kind of
had Korea representing.
They had some theatrics going on there. Some
the Korean player came out, kind of threw his lanyard down.
Yeah, it's crazy. Only in Evo will you see that kind of showmanship come out.
I love that though.
Yeah, it's great. It's really fun.
So talk to me about the 8-year-old who was kicking ass left, right, and center.
Nick Jr.
Yeah, Noah. His name is Noah.
Yeah, his name's Noah. I was actually there when he first came out on stage. That's one of the great things about Evo is even if you don't know who some of the top players are, it's just easy to see random shit happen that will blow your mind. And I was just sitting in the audience, and all of a sudden people start going pointing at the screen who's that and shit, and there's this little kid on stage, and we're like,
did people think it was a joke?
We thought it was an exhibition match or something, oh, this is gonna be some prodigy kid, we're gonna see him play. No, he starts playing, and he was legit. He was legit and won, and the crowd went crazy, and they were whenever the other guy was hitting him, they would start booing the other guy because they wanted the kid to win.
The 8-year-old.
Yeah.
And where was this held at?
Las Vegas.
The Rio.
Right.
It was held at the Rio.
The Rio?
It was in their convention center. It was a giant
ballroom.
Yeah. It was bigger than last year when they held it at Caesars, but they've held it at the Rio before. So I mean, giant venue. I mean, and in the back, I mean, you don't even have to just watch the tournament. In the back, they have games set up. They have like all the newest games that are there that you can play. They had like Ultimate Marvel you could try out, Street Fighter Cross Tekken, everything down to like, you know, Skullgirls. They even had Smash Brothers represented there.
Yeah, EVO is kind of moving in the same direction that PAX is, where, you know, it started off as kind of like a fan-centered thing, but now even major players like Capcom and Namco Bandai are throwing their hat into the ring. They come to EVO every year to show off the games that aren't coming out yet, which is kind of a cool thing, you know, for fighting game fans out there.
Well, actually, it sounds really fun because, one, you can just tell the vibe there is awesome.
It is.
You can go and play or watch the competition, and it's in Vegas. So when everything's done, you have great places to go out and eat or drink or do whatever you want to do or hang out. I'd rather go to Vegas than Seattle.
Yeah, exactly. And one quick thing they did add this year was, I think it was the first year they had panels. They
had
dedicated
it's
panels
becoming a straight up con
hosted by like industry people and stuff like that. So I mean, yeah, they're really. I mean, it's called EVO. They are evolving. So
yeah, undoubtedly, this year was the biggest one yet. Actually, EVO was a trending topic for the whole weekend that was on, and Jay Leno mentioned EVO in his opening monologue.
No way.
Yeah, totally.
He's got a nerd on staff somewhere.
Maybe, but yeah, I mean, I think this was definitely EVO is the quintessential esport. I think. The venue for it, because, you know, it's eminently available. You could watch it on stream, and they even had it on PlayStation Network for stream, which is kind of amazing. It's a great event. I hope everyone that likes fighting games checks it out sometime in their life. I think it's totally worth it.
EVO, love it.
I'm not just hotter than you. I also just kicked your ass.
So Mr. Stevens is now back on the mic.
That's
He's
me.
fresh off a trip to France to check out Assassin's Creed Revelations.
Yeah, they took us to France, which is near Switzerland, and it's their multiplayer team. It's the guys who've done multiplayer for a lot of Ubisoft's biggest games. They did the original Mercs vs. Spies in Pandora Tomorrow, so they're into that kind of, you know, not so symmetric multiplayer. Yeah, so basically, I would say that Revelations multiplayer kind of actually reminds me of the big jump between Assassin's Creed 1's and Assassin's Creed 2 single player, where they had all the mechanics and everything kind of worked very well, but they kind of put it into like a loose-knit sort of setting. And same thing with Brotherhood, where like Brotherhood seemed really great when you first played, multiplayer seemed really great when you first played it, but it was more of a novelty or a toy that you played with for a little while.
Yeah,
and then eventually everyone was just running around and stabbing each other. They've done a lot more to, like, I think they basically, you could think of the first game as just like a giant beta test for them to just basically level the playing field, add some more modes, and get things really working. I was really surprised that Deathmatch worked, because anyone who played Wanted in Brotherhood, you know, that was like the main game mode. Like, it was all basically kind of the same game modes,
pretty much,
with just a little variation.
Yeah.
Deathmatch, they made the map
the same.
They made the map a lot smaller. They took away the compass, so there's a little more mystery, but there's still this kind of like beacon that lights up if your prey is there. The other thing they added is the contested kill. Before, it was kind of like, if I can use a sports analogy, like Ty would go to the runner or Ty would go to the assassin.
Mm-hmm.
Here, if you both have it within the same amount of time, you'll still die, but you'll get points for having like a valiant effort, like struggling against your death. And there's just way more payout all in all for just being a strategic killer. Like, you may take a little longer to kill someone, but you could easily get 800 points, as opposed to someone who's just going around trying to kill people quickly who get 100 points. They had a couple of new perks. They have death streaks and kill streaks. They've definitely completely Modern Warfareized the game. Like, you even unlock like emblems and stuff to customize your assassin.
Now, have they given you more of an opportunity to defend yourself?
Well, that's where the contested kill thing kind of comes in.
Because that was what just drove me bonkers.
I never get a counter kill.
Well, I mean, there's new equipment stuff, and some of the equipment stuff was already kind of defense-wise, but here now they have basically, like, you can make a mimic of yourself and make him run so it looks like a human player, and then you can get like a lure bonus points if your assassin tries to kill them and loses the contract on you. And there's both a defensive and offensive with you know how there's bombs in Revelations? They're bringing some of the best bombs, they said, over to the multiplayer campaign. So there was basically like a trip mine, and it would stun people. And you could do that. Well, we were seeing people use it really defensively because they've added capture the flag. And it's kind of cool because it actually reminds me of like a lot more of like a kind of grade school capture the flag, because there's an actual like a line of I can't say that word, a boundary line. And you can't kill anyone when you slide over until you get a contract. So when you cross over into enemy territory, you got to be really incognito to try to pick up their flag, or it's called Artifact Assault, and try to bring it back. It was a lot of fun. It really does feel like they've picked up the pace, and I think it's going to be. They realize a lot of people didn't play too much Brotherhood after just checking it out, and the other thing they're doing is they're putting in a story into it. Every time you level up, or not every time, there's 50 levels, and at certain intervals you'll unlock a story from the Templars' perspective. Okay. And since I think Assassin's Creed fan base is also very much of a story fan base, they're very into the mythos of that.
So I think that's a cinema that fires off.
It will be cinemas. It will be files you can read. They were still keeping it kind of under wraps. They showed us an example cinema where it was just like, you're doing very well, we'll soon let you into the Templars' inner circle. But they said there'd be files and other stuff. I don't know how much it's going to be, or if there's going to be a shocking revelation on this end as well.
Did they say there was going to be any knock on with that into single player and the single player story?
Well, they said it would help flesh out things, and it would be from a different perspective. I'm curious if it's, but they were keeping it, their story stuff's always kind of tightly wrapped up. I am a little curious if it's going to span all of the games, or if it's only going to be kind of tied into Revelations. And we did a little recon, when they had the lobby screen going, and it was going through all their little like tooltips and stuff. And there's going to be a lot of modes in that game. And I tried to ask them about some of those modes, and they're just like, we're not talking about those. So
it went from a little sideshow to a full-on robust multiplayer suite.
That's how it's seeming. I mean, they showed us the 2 modes, and Wanted's back, and no one liked playing Wanted after playing Deathmatch. Even like that, I thought that was pretty rare. Like, Deathmatch was like a preferred over like a specialty mode, and I definitely have my hopes up. I think it got really I don't know, it's got prettied up. I think it could be something. It's still a little confusing just to get thrown into it if you haven't picked up Brotherhood. There's a lot of gauges and stuff on the screen, and a lot of, you can track how many people are assassinating you versus how many people are in your territory and stuff like that. And the UI wasn't completely finished, so I still wasn't quite sure how to, if like the kill streaks would trigger automatic. Oh, and the kill streaks are cool because you can choose just general kills, or like, which would be like 5 to trigger like like a special vision mode or something like that. Or you could do a lower number but harder kills, like 2 silent kills, where you have to RP walk into someone and try to poison them or something. You pull off 2 of those in a row and you get a cool bonus. So it seems like there's a lot of complexity, something to watch. I mean, we know that's a stellar franchise, but I think they've really upped the ante on the multiplayer.
What we were told was a plague. Is more accurately a massacre.
Next up, man, the hits just keep on rolling. Resistance 3 multiplayer beta. Now, I've got an invite. I have not had a chance to download this and play it yet. I've had friends and family in town for the last few days. I'm probably going to dig in tonight. But Patrick, you have been playing the beta a little bit.
Marcus and I have been playing
as well as Marcus, who you said it took you 3 hours to
it took me an hour and a half to download the actual beta and then the patch that they released. And I got to say, Insomniac have been very responsive, because there a lot of people were reporting issues yesterday. Was it Tuesday and Monday? And you couldn't really find games, you couldn't host games, but they rebooted their servers, I think, yesterday afternoon, and things started to stream quite nicely. I got to say, for me, I mean, I know what I've said, I'm not the biggest fan of shooters on the PS3. The reason I've gone into this is that it features a map that is in Wales. It's the first time Wales has been featured in a video game. It's the seaside of Glamorgan.
That be true?
You know that for a fact?
Well, I mean, outside of FIFA,
rugby
where
games,
they've had rugby games or sports games, or Tiger Woods, where they have
someplace or a golf course.
But yeah, they have one called the Seaside of Glamorgan, which actually doesn't exist. But you can tell it's Wales because they have 2 abandoned coal mines, they have a chapel, and they have a pub. That's all that's missing is a flock of sheep in the distance. And I gotta say, mad props to Insomniac before we actually get into the gameplay stuff. They actually do have signage in the Welsh language. The name of the pub is basically, it translates into Under the Old Lions. And yeah, they have the right words for free house. And I was kind of really blown away by that. But I mean, having gone in and played it, it's fun. It's not mind blowing. But yeah, I'm having a giggle.
It's solid enough, right?
Yeah.
What makes it different?
I think as with all Insomniac games, it's all about the weapons. With
fire.
With Resistance 3 for sure, they definitely have a bunch of cool little kits to go through. since it is beta, not a whole lot has been shown so far. I've played a lot more within the actual single-player demo, so we're only seeing a small slice here. They're showing off some of the new alt-fire options on guns that have existed before, but you also have stuff like the bullseye, which, people are familiar with.
Is it smaller maps this time, or haven't they kind of pulled back on having it be like a billion-player?
Yeah, it's pretty small.
They're smaller player counts, so you're not seeing what was it 64 before? Or?
It was a high. Yeah,
it's pretty high. It's down to about half that, if not smaller. But I think the reason for that is they want each individual player to shine more rather than just be like a huge, clusterfuck of enemies.
Which is what it was.
Yeah. So I think it works. I think it's down to a more tame pace. The customization is cool. Although I have to say, after playing a bit of the Uncharted 3 beta, I'm a little kind of iffy on what Resistance 3 is currently offering. The loadout customization seems a little restrictive by comparison, but still some cool options.
Is it like level based though? Is it like kill enough dudes, level enough, and
it is
do your equipment?
Basically, how you perform in matches gives you points, and then you use those points to buy stuff like I could throw up a energy
in match
shield
or is it continuous?
Continuous.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's not like if you're thinking Homefront.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could this be the first shooter that does not have perks and kill streaks?
I mean, I'd say that even though it's not called perks or kill streaks, you're seeing something like that there. Just having passive bonuses is that's a perk basically. But I haven't seen anything like a kill streak where if you kill X number of dudes,
Y.
you get missiles or whatever. But it's still very early. I'd say they probably downscaled the graphics a little bit just because they're testing stuff out. Maybe it's a stress test.
I think over the coming weeks we'll see. It's running for 3 or 4 weeks, I think. So we'll see more stuff. And before we move on to the next topic, so time is tight. I just want to say that the name of the pub is Dan Ahain Llewod. Thank you. I promised some people I'd speak Welsh on the show today.
So what do you guys think? You haven't spent a ton of time with it. Does it have that something that's going to separate it from the rest of the first-person shooters out there?
Having played some of the single player and really enjoyed the single player, that's got my interest, and then the multiplayer, it'll be the cherry on the cream.
Now, how does the single player work? Is it the first mission of the game, or are you just kind of thrown randomly into the middle?
I'm just going back to single player. I'm just going back to single player, having played it, E3 and before,
and whatnot. Okay. So, like we mentioned earlier, we got some codes to give away this weekend to get on the beta, so make sure you follow us on Twitter.
All right. This is fucking crazy. On 3. 1, 2, fucking 3!
Next up, a game I think we've all been waiting to hear about for a while. We had one kind of vague report on it quite a while ago, but now we have the game. We've really been able to put it through its paces. That game is Dead Island. Miguel has jumped back on the mic. What do you think, bro?
First impression, which really, this is what it is, a first impression. Like the build that we have is rigged to sort of shut off after an hour.
It's on a timer, right?
Yeah. It's literally on a timer. So once you start playing, you see like a...
I kind of like demos like that, though, because I'd rather have the time limit than do a certain thing and it stops.
Right.
So with the time limit, you have a chance to go around and fiddle around with stuff and try to get farther in that amount of time.
It feels like it's challenging you, too. Okay, you got to do this.
It.
Like, why don't you next time just go off and, like, forget doing quests, just see how far you can get. So, yeah, there is an element of that. And I will say that I was pretty skeptical about this game. After playing it, after basically putting my hour in, which, for the record, I've only played it once. I've only done the hour once. I want to do it at least a couple more times before I really write anything about it.
Yeah.
But it feels good just on a fundamental level. Fighting hand-to-hand, first person, which is something that's notoriously hard to do.
Yeah.
It works well here.
Yeah.
It works well. It reminds me of the good games that do it. Riddick, Condemned, etc.
Xenoclash.
Yeah, that one too. It works well. There's a couple of cool little twists on it. You could, for instance, kind of aim, like you aim where you're going to hit the target by, just like you'd expect, by directing yourself. But there's also a secondary reticle that kind of dances around the target's body as you're aiming. It's kind of like a fine tune. So it's possible once you get used to how it works to do the cool things like bashing a zombie in the head with a crowbar or like hacking its head off straight away with like a hatchet.
Are you playing keyboard and mouse or with a 360 controller?
Oh, no, yeah. They sent us a 360 build, so it's all the controller. I'm curious to see how that works with a keyboard and mouse too, whether it's more precise or whether because it does feel like the sort of secondary reticle is dancing around a little bit. It feels a little chaotic.
I only got to play it literally, I think, for maybe like a minute 30 right before E3, but I actually felt like the controls actually did feel pretty good. Like, have you tried like jumping backwards, which is always kind of a weird sensation in a game, but since proximity is so important here, it actually feels good and like somewhat realistic.
Other little things too, like when you go loot an object, if you're like, let's say 10 feet away from it, your guy will sort of just like rush to it. If you're using a melee weapon, you could pretty much anything you're using, you could just sort of pull it back and toss it like a javelin. And that has like a different effect too. There's all these cool little things that I mean, let's face it, first person melee is still something that developers are figuring out, but there's a lot of cool little things in here that give you enough tricks so you don't feel like you're fighting with one hand tied behind your back.
So how's the game structured? Like, how do you get missions? Is it just a big open world free for all, and you can go talk to some random person and like, hey, go get this, blah blah blah? Yep. Or how does it all work?
It seems like that. Like you're directed. You start off, and I don't know. It seems like the intro sequence in the build that we have is not. It doesn't feel final because the conceit is that you when you watch the intro cinematic, you're kind of like some person who's like in an alcoholic blackout, going crazy and harassing people at some party, and then
seems familiar.
Yeah, regardless of
sounds like Saturday night.
Yeah, and regardless of which character you pick, you wake up in the situation that you saw in that cutscene. So even if you pick the girl character who uses the firearms, you'll still start out passed out in the hotel room with like a bottle of Jack Daniels on your bed.
So let's talk about. I mean, I sat and watched the game being played for the full hour last week, and there's only sort of like 3 things that are like stood out as potential irks for me. First of all, it's the character classes and the characterization of the characters. It seems because you were playing as the hip hop guy, I think.
I was playing as the
hip hop guy.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There is generic
urban.
Generic urban hip hop guy number 36, and it does seem to have those sort of like very generalized characters with no sort of like
it's like a caricature, man. Of course, it's ridiculous.
So the next thing I noticed
it's like what Poland thinks about.
We're not going. No, not after last week. But one thing I did notice is the Call of Juarez glow effect, because it's the same team, I think, the same engine.
It's Techland.
Yeah, it definitely has that sort of like glow, which is kind of disconcerting time after time.
The fact that it's made by the same people that made Call of Juarez is far more disconcerting.
Yeah, well, this game seems far and away better. Yeah. This is fun. This is cool.
There's no white dots like Pac-Man.
Even right now, where it's
be careful what you mention when you're trying to establish a game's
quality.
quality.
I will say, I mean, the stereotypes are obviously a little, hackneyed and annoying and offensive, but I mean, we still haven't really seen the multiplayer in this game, and from everything I've heard from the multiplayer, it feels like it's kind of going to be a very Phantasy Star Online sort of. You need each of one class to kind of get through it.
Right.
So that may take a little bit of the edge off.
So I have one last criticism, and this is just an irk in general, is the fact that when repairing your weapons, you pick up all the parts and then you end up having to pay to there's nobody around. There's just a workbench in front of you, and it still costs you a shitload of this money that you pick up.
It's the honor system, man.
Yeah. Who am I giving this to?
Yeah, it's like there is nobody there. It's almost like, is there supposed to be a slot for quarters? Do I swipe my ATM card?
And it's also the thing where, like, all right, you find a merchant whose ass he just saved from like a zombie apocalypse. He's like, yo, man, you want to buy that butter knife? You got to pay me $400.
Yeah, and that's where I wish they perhaps gone more of a Fallout way, so you can kill him and steal all his stuff, or they allow you to collect more parts. That seems like a just leveraged in to encourage you to explore more. And that was the only major criticism I had. So
finally, the trailer that everyone went gaga over. Does it have anything to do with the game at all?
Yeah, I think the trailers that we saw were kind of.
No, there's the trailer. Remember, with
the
person,
from reverse.
It's all in reverse. Remember, that's what set this whole game off.
Right. Well, the intro cinematic seems like that kind of story told from another point of view. So, yeah, I think it does. I would assume that the trailer that everybody went crazy for.
You don't remember it? With the little girl falls out of the building.
I do, yeah. Okay. And then, the little girl turns into some fucked up zombie.
But the game really doesn't look
But those
like
characters
that.
are main characters.
No, I mean, they already said at GDC there's not going to be any child corpses. So...
or just zombies. In their promotional for the game.
Zombie bikinis.
Just to get people to buy it.
Zombies in bikinis, not hot.
All I want to do is kill children.
All right, so that does it for episode 171. I told ya, the show is loaded with good stuff. I mean loaded. This is a long show too, so we'll see what happens when it goes through the hacking process. But lots of good stuff. It's good to have a really good show. It's been a while. Thank you, video game industry. We all talked already about the Resistance 3 codes, but we also got codes for, what's this game again, Miguel? Pirates of Black Cove.
Black Cove, yeah.
Arr. Get your code for Steam, mate.
Yeah, there you go. It seems interesting to me. I don't know if it's any good. I haven't played it yet. RTS RPG. Kind of hybrid. It seems like it's inflected by Pirates of the Caribbean. So, yeah, there's codes.
We got codes for that, so make sure, like I said, stay on our Twitter feed all weekend at Invisible Walls. We got codes for Resistance 3.
We will feed you codes nonstop. You'll be shitting codes out your arse.
All right, me mateys. Invisible Walls is up and out.